And the Clippers face KD and the Suns. That series tips off Sunday afternoon in a fantastic 4 versus 5 matchup. Despite being the 4th seed in the West, the Suns have the shortest odds to win the conference at plus 190. That according to Caesars Sportsbook. In 5 of the last 7 seasons entering this one, the West number 1 seed has been favored to win the conference entering the postseason. Stephen A., let me ask you this.
Yes.
KD bringing Phoenix its first title, would that change the narrative around Kevin Durant?
I think to some degree it would, without question. Just for the record, for me, this is just how I feel. I believe when healthy, KD is the best player on the planet. That's how I feel about Kevin Durant. I want the ball in his hands. I just think he's that lethal. That's how I feel about him. And I think that he gets a bad rap a lot of times.
What do you think the narrative is? Yeah.
I think the rap is 2 things. Number 1, he's highly sensitive. I could care less. I applaud him because he speaks his mind. And he doesn't hide behind people to do it. He'll sit up there, and if he disagrees with you, he'll tell you. Ain't nothing wrong with that. He has every right to do that. He knows more basketball than us. That's number 1. Number 2, there is no getting around this. He left Steph Curry for Kyrie Irving. There's no getting around that. Nobody can deny that. You were in Golden State. When you departed from Oklahoma City to go to Golden State, you said it was to play a better brand of basketball. It was for your game. And when you departed Golden State, y'all were winning championships. You don't tear your Achilles, you three-peat. But you still wanted to leave. And you wanted to join your boy in Brooklyn. And we all know what happened in Brooklyn. We don't have to belabor that. So obviously, that is a stain. But you go to Phoenix, who's never won a championship ever, and you arrive and you deliver the goods, that does go a long, long way. And I already know he's great. Anybody that knows basketball knows how phenomenal and great KD is. But that would definitely do something special for him.
I have my perspective on Kevin and the player that he is.
Okay.
We have joked, Mad Dog, about the all-time the all-time point guard, the all-time three-point shooter, whatever. Like, I look at Kevin as one of the all-time greats, and I'm not going to put a number on it, but he's one of the all-time greats.
Without question.
I think what's interesting if the Suns were to win is, not for me, but for some people, right, the narrative is that he was a mercenary, a hired gun.
Okay.
Just like when he went to Golden State.
Okay.
And you talked about this before, Stephen.
Okay. I've said a lot of things.
If he had won on his terms in Brooklyn, then that changes the narrative.
Yes.
Right?
To me, that would have been the greatest thing that happened to him.
But to me, a narrative is just you're telling a story of what actually happened. And so if he goes and wins and becomes a three-time that's the literal definition. Go look it up. Don't lean in. I know you. He becomes a 3-time champion,
right?
Likely 3-time Finals MVP. Of course, if they win, Book has a chance to get that Finals MVP too. He probably moves up a tier in the all-time great conversation. Mm-hmm. I don't think we have talked enough about what he did this season when he was on the basketball court. We haven't talked about it enough. Last 27 games he's played, he's 25-2. 29, 7-5, 2.1 stocks.
Yeah.
Top 5 field goal percentage as the primary defender in the NBA.
Right.
Like, as good as you can be on both ends of the basketball floor.
Right.
And if he wins in Phoenix, I guess it changes the narrative, but it's not going to change how you guys feel about him. I'll be honest with you. Because you want him to do a thing your way, and he's chosen to do things his way.
Okay.
I want you to respond.
You're wrong. You're wrong, but I'll let Grado go first. I'll come right back to you because you're totally wrong. Okay, here's the deal. First of all, here's why you're wrong. You don't talk about KD's numbers as much as you should because it's nothing new. He's a career 27-point per game scorer. He was in Oklahoma City.
I'll let you go. I just want to point.
Sure.
What he did this season is new.
Okay.
He had a 55, 40, 90 season. No one's ever done that before. Yes.
This is what I mean.
Yes.
You brought up the 29. I'm just talking about the 20. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's nothing new to know that he's averaging 29 a game. He's 25-2 last 27 games. Went on an 18-2 run in terms of 18 wins in 20 games when he was in Brooklyn with Kyrie. When the man steps on the court, He just wins. He's one of the most efficient offensive superstars this game has ever seen. He's just that phenomenal, okay? But when you talk about narratives, it depends on who you are. There are people that are going to feel that way about KD. One of the biggest regrets, and I'll say this on national television, one of the biggest regrets that I have sitting in this seat is when I called his move the weakest, when he left from Oklahoma City to Golden State. I called it the weakest move I ever saw by a superstar. I meant it. But as I told KD, it was because you had so dramatically shifted the balance of power with your greatness. I didn't even pay attention to basketball last. I didn't care because it was a foregone conclusion, and I was mad that we had no competition. People misconstrued that to literally act like I was questioning his greatness. No, I was saying he's too great to put the game in this position. There's no one to compete with you and the Splash Brothers. There's no one to go against y'all. There's no hope. And obviously, I was right. They went back-to-back titles. LeBron giving a concession speech before the damn finals even started because he knew he had to go against KD with the Splash Brothers. I mean, LeBron wins Game 7. Oh, you ready to go against KD? Oh, man, you know, this is going to be a tough challenge. I just want to enjoy this moment. And nobody want to hear that. Let's go. And you knew nobody had a chance. So I want to be clear. KD is phenomenal. He's one of all-time greats. And every number that you threw out there, to me, is just further evidence of why I think he's the best in the world today, right now. But it will still help.
Can I say one thing before you jump in? That's why when you were saying it's a stain, I disagree with one thing you said. It's a stain him leaving Golden State to go to Brooklyn. Because if he stayed in Golden State, we would have held that against him.
No, I was just saying what I said at the time.
Valid point, Molly.
No, I was just saying what I said at the time and how people misconstrued that. And I was like, damn it, that's not what I meant. So I had to sit across from him in the boardroom saying, this is what I meant.
No, I get that, but I'm saying the Brooklyn move, joining Kyrie and leaving them.
And I think it would have been great if he won in Brooklyn.
But if he had stayed in Golden State and he didn't make a move and try to do it on his own, that would have been held against him.
Possibly. Probably right.
Yeah, I'm never going to change. I hated what Durant did when he left Oklahoma City. He had a 3-2 lead. They blew 8-point lead in Game 6 at home with 4 minutes left. And then he leaves to go play for the team that already won a championship and had set the NBA record for wins. I hated it. As a sports fan, I couldn't stand it. I totally agree with you guys how great he is. I'm with you on the statistics. I love watching him play. He loves to play. I think he's an all-timer. You know, I know you like to make fun of my lists. He's better than Bob Pettit. How's that make you feel better? I love him. Listen, I'm all for him as a player. But the idea, now Phoenix will care. Nobody in America is going to change their opinion about KD as a mercenary or as a guy who's got to play for good players by winning a championship in Phoenix. Nobody, that's not going to change. Because he goes to Phoenix and win, we're not going to say, oh, look at this. No, they're not going to say that. The fans are going to say, hold on now. He left Oklahoma City when they had a chance to win, he bailed. He left Golden State and Curry when they won to, and he was the best player on the team. He bailed again. Then he goes to the Nets, wants to be traded, decides to stay. Irving leaves, and now he wants to be traded again, and he goes to a team that 2 years ago got to the NBA Finals, got 2 Hall of Famers on the team. So what he does in Phoenix is not going to change the idea that he's bouncing around looking for a safe haven to win a championship. That's different from how great he is, because he's a tremendous, tremendous player, and you and I believe it, and I are on the same page. I think Phoenix, if they stay healthy and these guys play, I think they're going to win it all. I think they're going to get to the finals.
But to JJ's point.
But he is not going to change the narrative about the world.
JJ's point, and this is just a question, Doggy, because when at the end of the day, when we're talking about these players, when all is said and done, we may remember the teams. I'm not saying we forget the teams, but you're really talking about the players. And when you talk about the players and you talk about the greatness of KD, I don't think history is going to frown on him if he wins in Phoenix. How can you?
Well, they're not going to frown on him. But it's not going to change his legacy because we all know he's great anyway. And if he wins in Phoenix, people with Phoenix care because they have their first championship. But the people around the world, all right, you figured he's going to win in Phoenix. He's great. He's got Brooklyn and Paul. They should have won.
But I also
so that's going to be the MO.
It helps that the 3 best teams in basketball have been in the Eastern Conference this year. Even when KD arrives in Phoenix, you're still looking at Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia to a lesser degree. KD goes through the Western Conference. He gets to the NBA Finals, and he knocks one of them off to win it all. Let's say it's Giannis. there's a different conversation. He goes up against Giannis like he did in the Eastern Conference semifinals when I predicted he dropped 50 and he dropped 49 because he missed a free throw near the end of the game, for crying out loud. This dude and went to a game 7 and ultimately lost that game after. But we saw how he performed against Giannis. He goes up against Giannis in the finals and he takes him out. There's a different discussion that's required.
Doggy.
There's a different discussion.
For that, you say what?
I say we all know he's great, Stevie. He almost beat Giannis by himself. They had 2 guys hurt. So nobody's going to be surprised if he goes out there and beats the Bucks. I'm not going to be surprised. But he's not going to change the persona around the country who follow sports, at least in my crew. And you can say anything you want about my crew, that he's a mercenary who went where the best players were.
Well, there's no
if he
change in your
stayed
mind.
in Brooklyn and won there even when Irving left, different story. Not going to a team that we already knew is a finalist team.
Let's give the Emmy nominee.
Hold on.
Emmy nominee last time.
Hold on a second.
Yes,
hold
I
on
do.
a second. Hold on a second.
No, you don't.
I do.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
I'm not making it up.
Hold on a second. They made the finals 2 years ago, okay? They lost to the Dallas Mavericks last year.
Blitzed.
And they were awful
They were.
in Game 6 and 7.
7, they were terrible. Terrible.
They were not a championship team this year. Let's be clear on that.
I agree with that.
I did not view them
I agree with that, 100%.
as a Western Conference Finals
agree.
team.
Right.
Okay? Until Kevin Durant got there. I agree with what he's saying. It is an entire. If he goes up and beats Giannis,
Yes,
it's an entirely different conversation. I agree with you on that. You said this on the production call this morning, and you just said it again. This idea that like Kevin Durant